It is my honor to welcome you all to the such event organized by the Czech Republic in the cooperated by Ukraine. And maybe I will ask you. Thank you very much. And it is a great pleasure to have you all of you here. And we also have many participants online, so we are happy that we can have this hybrid form of our side event because, as you see, the room is full and we have to fortunately reach many people to attend the seminar. So let me now welcome and introduce our honorable guests. First, I would like to welcome Mr. Marian Jurečka, who is Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Labor and Social Affairs. The Czech perspective of the situation with refugees will be represented by Ms. Klára Šimáčková-Laurečíková, who is the Government Commissioner for Human Rights and National Coordinator of Adaptation and Integration of Refugees in the Czech Republic. It is also our pleasure to welcome Ms. Kateřina Levchenko, Government Commissioner for Gender Equality Policy of Ukraine. I would also like to welcome Ms. Carla Maria Rodriguez Panchia, Permanent Representative of Guatemala to the United Nations. As well as I would like to welcome our expert speakers representing UNHCR, Ms. Blanche Tax, who is Deputy Director of the UNHCR in New York. And we have also our online speakers. The first one is Ms. Lisa Williams, a representative of OECD from Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment, Development and Cooperation Directorate. And also Ms. Gana Grudzinska from the International Rescue Committee, and we have also here present in the room Magda Faltová, who represents the Czech NGO called Association for Integration and Migration. So I introduced you all our speakers, and now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Marian Jurečka for his opening remarks.
Dobré odpoledne, dámy a pánové, já vás srdečně vítám za Českou republiku na tomto side eventu, který si myslím, že je velmi aktuálně, velmi důležitý.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, good afternoon. Cordial welcome to this side event. Which I think is very topical and very important these days.
Musím říct, že to je téma, které je pro nás všechny v České republice, ale i v okolních státech a pro lidi přicházející z Ukrajiny velmi důležité, protože v posledních měsících od začátku války opravdu všichni žijeme tím, jak co nejlépe pomoci ukrajinským uprchlíkům, z nich většina jsou především ženy a děti.
Today's topic is very important for all of us, not only for the Ukrainian refugees, but also for the Czech society, because in the past year we've been living with the thought in our mind of how we can help these Ukrainian refugees, people fleeing Ukraine as a result of the war, and most of these refugees are women with children.
Za poslední rok do České republiky přišlo bezmála 500 000 ukrajinských válečných uprchlíků. Česká republika je zemí, kde je vlastně z evropských zemí nejvíce uprchlíků při počtu na hlavu.
In the past year, we have received around 500,000 refugees, and calculated per capita, we actually in the EU, we received the highest number of refugees.
A myslím, že jsme společně s nevládními organizacemi, s celou širokou veřejností udělali opravdu skoro zázrak, kdy se opravdu podařilo těmto lidem poskytnout přístřeší, pomoc a dnes té akutní pomoci už ve fázi adaptace, integrace, tak aby tyto lidé u nás mohli žít, mohli se rozvíjet, mohli být uplatněni na pracovním trhu a mohli studovat a budovat své budoucí kariéry.
Together with NGOs and the society at large, we really managed a miracle because we helped those people and we provided them with roof over their head. We must supply them with immediate support. And since then, the times of the immediate support in reaction to the war is over. And at the moment, we are in the phase of providing long-term support to help these people to adapt to the life in the Czech Republic, to integrate, to be able to live there, develop, find work, study, and work towards living in the country for a longer period of time.
A věřím, že až skončí Putinova barbarská válka na Ukrajině, takže se tyto lidé budou do svých domovů, do svých rodin a že nebude ten čas strávený v Ukrajině podobným časem ztraceným, ale že dokážeme je rozvíjet a podpořit je ve všech jejich potřebách, které tyto lidé mají.
And I firmly believe that once the barbaric Putin's war is over, the people will be able to return back home to their homes and to their families. And I hope that they will not perceive this time spent in the Czech Republic as time off. They will feel that we help them develop their needs and help them go back and be enriched with what we provide.
Závěrem děkuji všem nevládním organizacím České republice, kteří pomáhají s touto pomoci ukrajinským uprchlíkům a také svůj velké uznání a poděkování všem lidem, všem nevládním organizacím, které kdykoliv ve světě pomáhají uprchlíkům, protože je to opravdu něco, co je velmi důležité, často nevděčné, ale to dělá náš svět lepším a humánnějším.
I would like to extend my thanks to all NGOs which have been helping the refugees in the Czech Republic. But at the same time, I would like to thank all the NGOs worldwide that have been working with the refugees because it is extremely important. Sometimes it's not only thanks you get for this work, but definitely it is something what is making our world a better place to live.
Thank you very much to the Minister for the opening remarks. And now I'm really very happy to introduce or to announce another speaker, Ms. Klára Šimáčková, who is the Commissioner of Human Rights. We've been known each other. I'm a human rights defender, very well known in the Czech Republic, so I think the Czech Republic has in her really good human rights commissioner. So the floor is yours.
Dear Excellencies, distinguished guests, it's my honor to speak to you today at this side event. I'm addressing you as the Czech Republic's Government Commissioner for Human Rights and National Coordinator for the Adaptation and Integration of Ukrainian Refugees. And the topic of this event is very personal and important to me. Today I would like to remind us two very important messages related to migration and integration policy. The first message is that we need to apply gender equality perspective into every single measure we adopt in order to help refugees. The second message is that we must adopt multi-stakeholder approach with specific focus on the role of civil society organizations. I will briefly illustrate those two messages on the example of the Czech approach to integration and adaptation of people fleeing the war in Ukraine. There has been a special bond between Czechia and Ukraine as we speak similar languages and in many aspects our cultures have common grounds. For decades, the Ukrainian minority has been one of the biggest national minorities in our country. It's only logical that the Czech Republic has become a safe harbor for hundreds of thousands of people fleeing the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine. So far, almost 500,000 of Ukrainians have been granted temporary protection in the Czech Republic. Women and children represent 80% of them. What we can see is that women refugees can find themselves in particularly vulnerable situations as they have to face specific forms of discrimination. They are at a greater risk of gender-based violence, including sexual violence and human trafficking. A number of cases of human trafficking or sexual exploitation has been reported, mainly during the early stage of the war. Some of the Ukrainian women have been victims of conflict-based sexual violence in Ukraine, and they bring their trauma with them. They also face specific challenges in the labor market. Many Ukrainian women have been forced to leave Ukraine with children as their husbands and partners stayed behind to fight. For these and many other reasons, gender-sensitive as well as human rights approach is needed. We must reflect women's specific experience, needs, and risks they might face, and make sure their human rights are respected and promoted. Providing housing, social benefits, childcare facilities, and language courses have been the top priorities of our integration and adaptation policies. Today, more than 90% Ukrainian pupils attend Czech schools. Thousands of women manage to find qualified jobs. And as already mentioned by Minister Jurečka, many of them now provide job opportunities to Czech people. Since the beginning of the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine, we were applying a multi-stakeholder approach in providing assistance to refugees. Just a couple of weeks after the invasion, our government adopted a strategic approach and appointed the National Coordinator for Integration and Adaptation of Ukrainian Refugees. Civil society organizations have played a key role in this process. Within hours of the outbreak of the war, they were ready to provide emergency aid and support to those fleeing from Ukraine. They waited at train stations and helped those arriving in our country. They provided information, medical care, food, and shelter. They helped Ukrainians filling out applications for humanitarian benefits or when finding work. They assisted those in transit to other countries. In those early hours, our ability to provide immediate help to those seeking refuge rested on the prompt and selfless actions of our citizens. Over the past year, we have moved from providing emergency assistance to the phase of integration and adaptation. We are pleased that the cooperation between the state sector and civil society is only deepened. NGOs continue to monitor the situation on the ground and consult their findings with us. They are involved in the development of our strategic plan on adaptation and integration of Ukrainians who have fled their country. They comment on the draft laws that concern assistance to those seeking refuge. They help us to identify gaps in our policies. We are aware that our effective cooperation with civil society rests on our ability to ensure conditions in which civil society can function. I'm glad that we have been able to ensure financing for many activities and projects that help Ukrainians both from the state budget and EU funds. Providing such assistance to almost 500,000 people in a couple of months has been a bold challenge. There indeed had been a number of mistakes, and as sometimes our assistance was too slow or less effective. Particularly, providing help to the most vulnerable refugees wasn't easy, but I'm glad that today we can say that the Czech Republic has been doing a good job to help to find a safe place to thousands of Ukrainian men, women, and children. All of that wouldn't be possible without taking into account gender perspective and without a strong cooperation with civil sector organizations. Thank you for that. Thank you for